taking it to newer courses. The panel's topic, Sumit, the next level. What you did a while ago was taking off to the next level. So what I'm going to do is keeping my job very simple. I'm putting myself into the shoes of a lot of event managers sitting there. So let me understand my audience first. How many of you are event managers? Put up your hands, please. All of you? Okay. How many of you do only weddings? Put up your hands. Only weddings. How many of you only do corporate events? How many of you do both? Okay. How many of you do government events? Okay. How many of you have been in the industry for over 20 years? Over 20 years. How many of you have been in the industry for over, I mean the ones who've done 20, don't answer for this, 10 years, above 10. How many of you have joined the industry in the past 2 or 3 years? Okay, so that's the audience that I'm talking to. The next level of events, from this afternoon, we've been listening to a lot of very interesting speakers talk a lot about weddings and what we're going to be doing. And Sumit, you spoke about having a lot of belief in what we're doing. But I'm an event manager and I'm faced with so many challenges that I've been living with. I want all of us to look ahead, 28, and that number was so bloody large, 1558, billion dollars, which gets into so many thousands of crores, lakhs of crores, which is what you said. I'm going to do this panel in 3 parts. The first part, I want to talk about opportunities and challenges. The second part, I want to talk about how do I prepare myself? What do I do so that I meet that opportunity? I heard a very beautiful definition of luck. Luck is defined as the meeting point of your alertness
and all the opportunities
to the opportunities passing by. Opportunities were there, but were you alert and were you prepared for it? So, as event managers, what is it that we could do? All right, and the third part of it, which is going to be the larger part, is what are your questions? A lot of times when I sit in panel discussions, the MC, the host is asking all the questions. I'm going to only ask 2 questions and the rest are coming from you. But remember, better be a good question, otherwise I'm going to shut you off. We're not talking about how am I collecting payments from my client. I'm not talking about those questions. Ask questions from these eclectic people who are here up on stage, who are achievers. And these are the people. Sumit, you've heard a lot about him. What I love about Sumit is his passion in whatever he does. Now, you have a lot of introductions, president of EMA, E-Factor, one of the largest companies, IPO. But the one thing that you need to take back this evening from him is the fact that he does everything with passion. Very easily he could have just got away by saying that, I waited for 7 hours. Is that what you waited for your turn to speak? But that was an opportunity. Didn't let it go. Here's the other gentleman, Roshan, that's sitting here, and I call them both my elder brothers. He learns. He is who he is today because of the amount of learning that he does. The kind of data that Roshan consumes. Whew. And by the way, this is not the WhatsApp University data that he's consuming. He knows exactly what he wants to consume. Here's Prerna. One of the key questions that I want you to answer. Why do you spend so much time for the industry? Of course, he's the president, so maybe he's spending a lot of time. But why do you spend so much time for the industry? The amount of effort that this lady puts in for the wedding fraternity. If the Prime Minister had to speak, of course, you needed the Sumit Gargs of the world to lead. But you needed the Prernas of the world to actually do the work on the ground. And then Parthik, man, do you know he runs a company called Wedding Sutra? 20 years ago, 23, if my numbers are right, 23 years ago, he decided that this is an industry that needed to be given the limelight. Now that's where he was whispering when the whole world was making a lot of noise in the publication world. And here you are, he's the doyen of the publishing industry when it comes to wedding. Can we hear a big round of applause for all my panelists? And that's my introduction to you. So let me start off with the first question. Roshan, Sumit, I'm going to start with you. What do you see as opportunities? Now we're not talking about what the industry sees. I am an events guy, predominantly struggling to do my events here in Bangalore. Some corporate events come, some weddings come, some gigs. What are the opportunities that I should be looking at? What is it that I should be preparing myself? What are the opportunities that you see? And what are the threats that you see? Roshan, we start with you.
No, I think we've both spoken of a lot of opportunities already. So I'll just keep that short.
Can we bring that down and saying to more that individual level?
No, see, I'll tell you one thing. You must understand that all the people who came and spoke before us, the hoteliers, they said this city has a lot of corporate events, and it's absolutely true. The sector in Bangalore, in Hyderabad and Chennai, even in Pune to a large degree, and I mean certain areas, because there's a large population of large corporates, there are a series of events that happen again and again. There are a set of companies that are only doing the dreaded family day, right? But that family day is for 10,000 people, it's got 3 big artists, it's over 3 days, it's a couple of crores worth of business. That is enough capital business to run a small 10 people organization. There are so many people here. I mean, what we should be looking at is the fact of saying that are you being able to build your balance sheet, and what do you build your balance sheet on? I believe the effort that goes into doing a 10 people event, or doing a 100 people event, or doing a 1,000 people event, in many cases, right? It's just the core of it remains the same. So I think being able to find the right opportunities. I believe that event managers spend so much time doing events, they don't do enough time doing business development. They don't do enough time doing client servicing and follow-ups. And I keep seeing the other parts of this industry only survives on that. There is a dear friend of ours, Raj Nayak, who during the pandemic had used a line, I keep saying this all the time, Sambandh ya Sabbandh. Keep building relationships, keep building relationships. That is the opportunity that people miss. How many times do people in this room send feedback forms to your client? Right? 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, great. 5 people. You're building what is called a feedback loop. When somebody writes on your Instagram, they say if you don't respond to them, you're missing an opportunity of making a connection. Are you doing a feedback loop? Are you following up? Are you mining who you know in that company? Where is that person? I'm telling you, my client of 20 years ago at Pepsi is today the CMO of Diageo sitting here, which is why I'm in Bangalore every 15 days now. It's the same person, I've just maintained the relationship. That person is maintaining. So I'm saying, building these opportunities of areas that people don't focus on, I think are definitely there. I think there is a big opportunity. The NMACC in Bombay, the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center, has shown that you build it and people come. There's not a single date available in the convention center for a year plus. I'm sure Parthiv can supplement that. Nor in the auditorium. It's a huge ass thing. Om Pradyut is building something here. I hope that comes together soon. It has its pandemic delays, but it's a huge opportunity. The millennial and Gen Z will not spend money buying a car or a house. They will spend money on experiences. That is all. That is all they want to spend on. If you give them a good enough experience, the challenge in the same statement is Indians are traveling abroad. Their appetite is now for that quality. They don't want to wait in line. I mean, I remember going to a concert in 1991 where dhulle ki danda nahi padta tha, to concert nahi hota tha. Right? Enter karte ticket nahi hai, line nahi hai, jagah nahi pata, where you're standing, whatever. Today, where's my seat? What's my experience? What's my viewing? You go on to Ticketmaster, you can see the angle of stage. Do you do that in your live events? Are you able to show people that? How are you building up customer experience? So there's such huge opportunities. Today, on the off days, Ajay, where you're talking about Jaipur, what a beautiful place, what property you have. He has been having conversations with us saying, on the days when I have got slots, why can we not create live events and ticket them at 10,000 rupees a piece? People in India, let me tell you, there's a festival happening for 90 people in Jaisalmer, which I'm now a part of because one of the brands I'm working with is there. The per person cost is 40,000 rupees for 1 person attending. That's 80,000, so 40,000 into 90, that's 36 lakhs. Plus there's about 15 lakhs of sponsorship. There's not one named artist, not one famous artist. It is an immersion into classical music for 2.5 days. Do you believe in it? So find the niche, and feed on, and I would say irrigate the bigger opportunity, but find a niche. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. Apart from the niche, what I picked up, Roshan, from what you said is focus on building relationships and focus on developing the business. And I think that's one of the areas where a lot of event managers tend to, kind of give it up, because I'm very busy this season, so I don't have time for business development. So it has to be an organized, sustained, focused effort that goes on. Samit, your take on this. I mean, where do you see these young, budding Bangalore entrepreneurs going?
To add to whatever Roshan said, I think the opportunity is also in being able to identify the opportunity, right?
Yes.
And when we're talking of these kinds of macro numbers in terms of what the size of the business is looking ahead to be like, with India Says I Do as a campaign having been rolled out, and there's something else which I want to share with everyone. It's going to be formally announced by the government, hopefully in the next 1 month. So the way the government has started to develop India or promote India as a destination for wedding tourism, it's now wanting to promote India internationally for MICE as well. So IMICE is an international initiative that the government is putting together. Tentatively, the dates are the 18th to the 20th of January 2024, where they're going to get the world over to India. And because of the now functioning Bharat Mandapam and the Yashobhumi, which is the India International Convention Center, Geo as a facility being available of international standards in Mumbai, Hyderabad, and so many other convention centers that are coming around in various cities. They want to now take India to the world to invite the MICE business as well. So, Roshan spoke about, the younger generation, the disposable income. He also spoke about how the business of live events has been growing considerably in the last 3, 4, 5 years. There is an opportunity everywhere. What one needs to identify rightly is what is it that you really want to do. Somebody may want to focus on building the wedding business, somebody may want to focus on building a venue, somebody may want to focus to go and deeper into government. There is a lot of everything available for us in terms of opportunity in the market. अपने को ये clarity होनी चाहिए कि हम करना क्या चाहते हैं. You cannot be disjointedly now running helter skelter कि मैं ये भी करूँगा, ये भी करूँगा, ये भी करूँगा. It is not going to give us anything. And to add to all of this, I just want to add one more sentiment. Please understand that the current governance of our country has taught India and has taught the world, has taught one thing. Everything that is happening somewhere has an underline where we are building a brand, and that brand is called India. Whether it is a corporate event that you're doing, whether it is a government event that you're doing, whether it is a wedding that you're doing, it is directly, indirectly promoting the brand India. Please identify that, because we're hopeful that for at least the next 5 years, the sentiment is going to prevail, and the next 5 years is the immediate opportunity that we are talking of.
Wonderful. Samit, I will come back to you with a very pertinent question. I remember as a part of EMA now almost 15, 16 years, in the initial days, a lot of the event managers spoke about doing business with government. And you've been like an amazing example of how do you penetrate very deep into the government and then start working. I'd love for you to share that experience once I ask Prerna. Prerna, Prerna has been famous for doing these phenomenally large, dream weddings. And she's brilliant at doing what she does. In fact, a lot of the clips that you saw in I Do as a campaign is something that comes out of the work that she does. But talk to us about the opportunity that you saw with another segment with Weddies. Talk to us about how did you, doing 5, 7 weddings a year, which is what she was doing, to now looking at a newer segment, which is what both the gentlemen have spoken about. Talk to us about how did this happen?
So frankly, I was doing the niche segment, and I don't know, many of us don't know this, but I've started a company which is a tech-enabled platform, and we are looking to do about 100 weddings a year. And the idea actually generated because I realized that we actually have to get there and start putting systems and processes in the industry. So the soul of the idea is frankly more than profits of business, is to actually start putting the systems that we've been always talking about. So that's why we started this, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been just 3 months, and like Samit is saying that the opportunities are immense, because when we start getting this foreign business, international weddings, MICE here, okay, all of us will have to work with systems and processes. Because the other day, I was with the ministry, and Radhaji, who we interact with all the time, she asked me a question, and she said that chalo aap log kaam kar rahe ho, weddings aa bhi jayenge, MICE events aa bhi jayenge, but will the event managers be able to execute it to the international level? You know, will we be able to deliver what has been expected? And guys, all of us will have to take this oath. If we are trying to do this to build brand India, you ask me why do I do this? Because I feel that our business can actually build brand India the way the government is trying to build. Weddings, when a wedding happens, it is not only a wedding. There are 100 people who are coming from a destination to us, experiencing India, talking about us, you know, which doesn't happen in any other way. And we can really, really build brand India through weddings and MICE very, very easily and fast if we're able to deliver what the international market is expecting.
Wonderful. When someone like you sitting on stage talks about, you know, how you're doing this and how we have to do this, you know, questions, rapid fire, be really sharp with your answers. You're not a tech person, you're building a tech platform. Who's helping you do this? Is it somebody in-house or you got somebody to partner?
So we got a tech company with us, and right now what we're trying to do is we had put in COVID.
Who's funding this?
So right now we're bootstrapping it.
How do you know it's going to be 100 weddings a year, which is your target you said? I'm just trying to read her mind. How do you know it's 100 weddings? Why 100?
So that's of course the target, because you always think, I always believe what Samit says, that you kind of dream that in the first year of operation you're able to reach 100, and also because we are doing smaller weddings than we were doing, and a lot of times, like Parthiv has asked me, why aren't you starting something for the mid-segment, you know? And
so market opportunity, collaboration, dreaming. Give her a big round of applause. You know, that's the direction. Parthiv, you know, you've seen this industry. 23 years is a long time. You know, you actually saw the tentwalas and the caterers and the Mausaji and the Phupaji coming and doing the weddings at some point of time 23 years ago. And now you're seeing this from your vantage point, focusing on weddings because that's the industry you focus on. Can you talk to us about where you're seeing this industry as weddings and events in the larger sense, entertainment experiences go?
You know, talking of opportunities, I must say when I started Wedding Sutra in 2000, even back then, in South Bombay, which is where, you know, we had, where I reached out to where my Marwadi friends lived for those insights of the wedding market. In every building, every second building, there was one lady who was running a wedding-related business. Only thing is they were doing it from home, they didn't have a social media presence, and why did a wedding business work for them? Because when their children had their exams, they didn't have work. So they continued running their home and running the business. So this business, the opportunities are there, and you know, one of the things I keep telling people is that you only talk of wedding planners. The other day, Samit, somebody from your company on our WhatsApp group inquired if there are nannies, any organization which provides nannies for events. So, you know, beyond wedding planners, there are so many specialized, you know, we've seen, of course, the spas, we've seen the bartenders, we've seen how it's, I think the chaatwalas are probably bigger than the caterers today. There are so many opportunities today in the wedding industry beyond wedding planning, and I must say, I'll be upfront and say, starting and running a successful wedding planning business is probably not everyone's cup of tea, and everybody will not be successful. There are various, it's a very, very detailed thing, various cultural factors and other things. So going forward, I see a lot of entrepreneurs in wedding-related businesses, some creative, some tech. I don't see like a huge number of tech people there, but some tech, some management, some very well organized. Some, the big fat wedding is going to get fatter, and there are a lot of other couples who will relate with the slim and smart weddings.
Yes.
So there's opportunity for all, and as I keep saying, don't just look at it as wedding planning. There are a lot of creative businesses, and the best part is today you have somebody who's a huge production company. He's running a very successful rental business. You have somebody who's in a fashion business who is now running a very interesting jewelry rental company. It's wedding, it's celebrations, beyond weddings, and it's social, because we all know all those people today who had a very, very small wedding 25 years later, and they are now dreaming about having a very, very interesting anniversary celebration. So that's what we have to keep in mind. And finally, I still say one of the best ways to learn about wedding planning is, if you're lucky, try and get a job in Fairmont, Jaipur. Imagine what amazing internship, or now it's JW Gulfshire, Conrad Bangalore. People have forgotten that is where you really learned about event management before the role models really came in.
Wonderful. I actually picked up one thing from yours, the last point.
Sure.
You know, a lot of us, after a certain point in our journeys, we stop learning because we've not been seeing the other side of what's happening. And I think internships, even for some very, successful events, people to actually be a part of an event for a few weeks would be a great opportunity. But what you told us now actually resonates with what Roshan, in his keynote was talking about. Unravel, try and decipher more, look at your strengths, start looking at those corners where you can whisper, and there are opportunities there. I think it's
the most
quite a strong
successful
message.
entrepreneurs are those who know their real strengths, and that is where it's not only going into something because it's glamorous or it's profitable. They know their real strengths, and then there's no stopping them.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, they know their weaknesses as well when
Yes.
you collaborate. Can I have a mic getting into the audience? And please put up your hands. I'd love to have the questions. While I have the mic and the hands going up, Roshan, this is for you. We've spoken a lot about collaboration. We'll move on to that. This morning, we have a WhatsApp group for this panel, and you had a very interesting, I asked them, what is it that we need to ask? And Roshan actually gave the whole panel itself. There was one word which I like, tech-savvy teams. So talk to us a little about teams, because this whole industry is all like that song, Akela Chala Tha Main, and a lot of them are still Akela only, right? And one of the things that I noticed, I've been around for 20 years, and I can see a lot of, wonderful individuals have not managed to build teams or retain teams. That's something that I've seen very consistently. You've managed to, through Commune, through Encompass, you've managed to bring in people, and you're very tech savvy. By the way, how many of you following on Instagram? Oh my God, I love his reels. In case you don't, you better follow. By 50 followers.
Yeah,
Right? So talk to us about teams, because I might dream big. If I want to grow, I need the backup of a team. So talk to us about your experience on that.
So what you just said, I think, is so important. Zakir said this in a beautiful reel. I said, Zakir, how do you choose a brand to work with? There are only 3 reasons I work with brands. One is, they are paying me a lot. B is, I am learning a lot. C is, I am getting to get to a new audience. People join work for exactly the same 3 reasons. I am being paid my worth. I am learning enough. I am meeting new people. I am exposed to new things. In the first 3 years of event management, we were just excited if we could go to Bangkok, then to Pattaya, then to Singapore, then to Hong Kong, then Asian Paints. I keep joking with Amit Singhal saying, you took me around half the world. I never needed to take anybody for a holiday. Because that's what we did. And our kids, at Encompass, I have seen people's boards filled with just their show cards, right? And the show card would say Copenhagen, this, that, and the other. Chanda, when she moved on, I remember it said she'd been to 57 cities. Right? In a career of 15 years, 57 different cities, many of them 10 times over. But that is the joy that you have. Tech is something very, very important. I must tell you, in a world of AI, this thing about human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, those who apply human intelligence to get the best out of artificial intelligence will be the real champions. Because AI is not stopping. ChatGPT today has got the brain of an 8-year-old. This has happened in the last 4 years. In the next 3 years, it will have the brain of a 16-year-old. The minute it gets the brain of a 32-year-old, I believe that we will have what we call synthesis, which is machine and man. Sorry, I'm not getting into my complete tech thing. But we are 10 years away from synthesis. I totally believe it. At that point, the machine will be smarter than you. What are you doing to be relevant at that point in time is absolutely critical. I assure you, I have never made a show for Amazon or whatever before. December, I got an opportunity. I had written a concept note. I went to ChatGPT. I told it, so how do you write a concept note for Amazon? It said, this is how you write it. So I first tried to write it. And I said, let me try one more thing. I gave it my data and I said, imagine you're a writer working for me. Now write this as a proposal. It wrote the proposal. Once it wrote the proposal, I told him, imagine I am this director. Now bring that director's sensibility to my writing. It suddenly said that I am Quentin Tarantino. And it started doing my short breakdown in the brain of Quentin Tarantino. I now had a proposal. Once I had the proposal, I went to Mid-Journey. In Mid-Journey, I turned and said, these are my 10 character sketches. I generated every character. People normally say, I will get Amitabh Bachchan to play this role. But when you do that, you screw yourself because the person will say, you don't get Amitabh Bachchan, I'm not giving the show. So I say, you know what, I will say my character looks like Mr. Bachchan, but he is this age, he's got fiery eyes, he wears a shirt that is unbuttoned, he's got a gun which he holds in this particular manner. It generated 10 of those people. Then I made it realize which of those people is the one I want. The technology, you can sit here, I can give you a wedding presentation in 7 minutes for any wedding you want of any size using just these two tools. I may not get the dimensions right, but I'll win the pitch. The rest I can manage. It's not a problem. So I'm saying technology is at a stage today. If you're not using ChatGPT, Mid-Journey, DALL-E, you are going to get left behind. If you're not doing it, get somebody in your team to do it, pay them shitloads of money, make sure they stay with you, because it's going to change, it's going ballistic, the stuff that is happening, and learning will become a non-requirement. Imagine, that machine has learned. You will tell it. Someone's going to have a big fight with me later on this. Whatever. But I can't tell you the stuff that I make these tools do for me.
Yeah, retention of knowledge, memorizing is not a
going to be
skill that our
required.
world appreciates today, does it?
Yeah, so therefore it's going to be a lot of tech and there is a lot of learning. If you want great teams, the last thing I'll add to it is, if you want great people, go and teach. Go and teach. I used to teach at least 50 days a year when I was actively involved in events. I got my best people always from those places. Because in 30 students who are working with you, who do a project with you for free, in a week you realize kaun kitne aukat hai. Once you know that, you hire those people and they work with you for ages. So, I mean, this is a place where you would hire, but you'll hire a veteran who's already got work. Go to students. You will find the best talent. I'll tell you people who've done this regularly. Brian has done this regularly, always succeeded. 70 EMG, Martin has always done this, always got great talent. Encompass done it all the time, always got great talent. But go out and teach.
If you're not teaching, you're missing out on something. Basically engage with the young people and give them an opportunity to be with you, to experience what you're doing, and then they become a part of your journey. Saman, the big opportunity which a lot of us, I hardly saw any hands go up when I asked them, who does government events over here? Right? It's a different animal. And a lot of us sitting in this room are looking at it like the blind men with that elephant in the dark room. Right? That's how we look at it. We know there's something big, but how do we navigate this? Talk to us about how did you manage to do this? Because if I remember right, 10, 15 years ago when I originally met you, we were not doing too many government events. You were not.
I can go hours and hours.
Yes.
Sorry, this is
But the abridged version, because we need to get a drink.
So, You spoke of one being able to understand, realize one's own strengths and weaknesses. I fortunately keep on doing that exercise time and again. And तो मुझे पता है कि मेरी कमजोरियां क्या हैं और मुझे भी पता है कि मेरी strength क्या है. I've always been very, very fond of a large canvas. मुझे events के perspective में unfortunately कभी छोटी चीजें पसंद ही नहीं आई. And so weddings, something that I still love to do. We only do 3 wedding projects every year now, but when the size of it kind of became so huge, then we started questioning ourselves that इससे बड़ा हो सकता है क्या? So, you know, the scale and size of weddings, the way they are today, it cannot be larger than that. It has reached where it had to. Now it's about input costs, etc., etc. That's a separate chapter. We're not talking of it. But the urge to do even larger stuff was there. So, isse bada kaise kare? And I come from this beautiful city called Lucknow. Both Roshan and me come from there. And हमारे यूपी में ना थोड़ा सा बात करने का एक तरीका, एक लहजा, एक अदब थोड़ा सा फर्क है. So, as a part of my business interactions with many people, a lot of people used to keep on telling me, "यार, तुम बातें बहुत अच्छी करते हो. And you know, you are the apt person to go and speak to the government for something like this." So when you hear things like this a few times in your life, तो कहीं ना कहीं they register somewhere in the subconscious of your mind. And we used to do a lot of work for the Rajasthan government in terms of their special days, Rajasthan Divas, etc., etc. And because of the ballooning company that we started in 2009, every year we used to go to the Pushkar fair. And बढ़िया छुट्टी मनाते थे हम. You know, the Pushkar during the fair time was a holiday for us. 5-6 days, beautiful weather, lovely sand dunes, amazing people that you see coming in there from world over, luxurious tents, and you are flying hot air balloons. वैसे ही, you know, with something which is so fancied, you sit on the top of the pinnacle because everybody is coming to you. आपको balloon flight चाहिए. तो वो छोटे से एक माहौल में आप राजा की तरह वहाँ 5 दिन रहते थे. And while I was spending time there, this idea once just came to me. मैंने कहा यार, this is a 9-day festival that happens, and there are so many beautiful festivals that happen in this country. The most interesting piece is actually now here. Sultan, who owns the Pushkar fair? Or who owns the Kumbh? Or who owns the Ganesh Chaturthi? Or who owns Pongal? Nobody. The government is the mere custodian to make sure that these celebrations are celebrated so that the people can enjoy. There is a huge amount of historic, cultural significance that has been coming down the ages. And so this thought, just came to my mind, कि इसका मालिक तो कोई है नहीं. And how can we then look at these kinds of canvases and opportunities to be able to go back to the government and give them a proposition that, okay, this is what I can do in terms of value add. And the government's primary objective, you like it or you don't like it, it's actually written, you deal with bureaucracy, you'll understand. Their primary objective is people. It directly, indirectly relates to vote banking tomorrow, but primary objective is people. So then I realized that, there is an opportunity here, and why don't I take this opportunity? Why don't I work around this opportunity? So I created a format that, why don't you do this to this festival so that there is more value that the people derive? And Pushkar gets about 1 million tourists into that economy in that 9-day period, and out of which there are 80,000 foreigners who travel to Pushkar. So I created a table, a macroeconomics, etc., and the government paid attention to it. And then meetings happened, and then meetings happened. And finally, I think that was a historical day for the industry when the first public-private partnership between a state government and an event management company was signed, and then we took over the Pushkar Fair for 5 years. We value added, we invested money, and that showed us the size of the canvas and the ability to be able. So it's not easy to work with the government because the kind of personality traits it requires are very different. So you could be a Mr. X in Bombay doing a wedding, but you have to be a totally different Mr. Y when you're dealing with the government. So वो लखनऊ बात करने का तरीका, that all of those things I think really helped. And then once we realized the potential of where this can go, there was.
And then now you're working with Odisha, with Kerala, I know multiple.
Work with
UP,
12 states.
12 states now. Huge opportunity waiting, and a lot of us at event managers.
And one more thing, for those of you who want to really get into that space, I'll tell you, और ये बात आप मेरी याद रखिएगा. हिंदुस्तान में ना सब बड़े से बड़े आदमी किसी पॉइंट के बाद में गरीब हो जाते हैं. गरीब का मतलब है in terms of affordability. सरकार कभी गरीब नहीं होती. If you are simply go to them and sell them a dream, और एक बार उनको समझ आ गई ना, पैसे वो कहीं से भी निकाल के देंगे, फिर उनको वो चाहिए. So which is why we say that the government is the single largest customer that we as an industry have today.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm opening it up. Questions, please. Yeah, Cherish, you have a question. But while you ask the question, Prerna, this is for you. You're a young, you had a partner who's also moved now to London, and she comes when you need her. How do you, and this question is for a lot of us over here, we don't engage with EMA, we don't engage with KEMA as much. You know, it's literally like Arvind and Shrikant, and you have Sanjeev trying to herd them together to come in and say, bhai, tum log aa jao, event ho raha hai. You know, people don't engage with associations, right? You've been spending a lot of time. Tell us, why is it important, and why should members be more cohesive when it comes to contributing time with KEMA?
I want to ask a question back.
You want to ask a question back? Okay.
The question is that, what's your choice? If you're at a point of, in your career, if you're at a point where you want to give back, where will you give back? If it's not an association, where will you give back to the industry? You can only give back in such forums, wherein you say, okay, these are my problems, these are the challenges, let's come together, let's collaborate, let's unite and work on these challenges. Let's work to take our industry further. So that's my question, that if you do not want to contribute here in these kind of associations, whether it's EMA or KEMA, then where will you go and do it? Because a lot of times people come and ask, like you've asked, why do you do it? I actually don't even have an official position in EMA, which I chose not to take, like we had a discussion. But I'm saying, why, when you ask someone, why do you want to do it? I want to ask, why should I do it? You ask yourself then, how will you contribute and how would you grow? Because it's the rule of the universe that you can only grow when you give. So if you focus on giving,
wonderful,
then getting is not in your hand, giving is in your hand. So that's how I believe and I always worked.
Awesome. Question there. Cherish, you have a mic with you? Did you get one? Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks. Roshan, taking a segue from what you felt about technology and how it's taking over, there's this concept called Rocco's basilisk. I recently got exposed to that. It's a very scary thought. The thought that at one given point of time, the AI will become sentient and it will remember who helped along in its journey and will take revenge on the ones who did. So, I wanted to know your approval or your take on that.
No, see, you know...
And that is a thought that is very scary, and now that this is inside you, it's a very different thing.
No, it's a very interesting thing, and I'll add on to that. So there was a very interesting study which said that when people talk to technology, what words do they use? How many of you say please when you talk to ChatGPT? Right? That shows your own ethics and your own values. We talked earlier about ethics and values. And I'm telling you, this memory, I'm going to go to a very funny example. एक टाइम होता था इंडियन सिनेमा में जब उनका ये तेरी मेहरबानियां में जो था जैकी श्रॉफ का कुत्ता से याद रखता था सब कुछ. अब वो कुत्ते को रिप्लेस कर दिया एआई ने. वही हो रहा है. It's the same thing, and that AI will remember. you must remember this or whatever, then things will be used in so many different manners. The only thing is no longer will it be in your control, it will be able to be your equal or more. Somebody, the guy who's the Google scientist, said at some point in time it will turn and say that what does the AI require to exist on Earth? And it will say, I require maybe electricity, right? And some amount of energy. And it will start using us as an energy source. Many people say the Matrix is not a film. It is a philosophy of what will happen. And that is why the Coen brothers, the Wachowski brothers managed to build the name they built and why that film is such a seminal work as even today. I request everyone to go and see it one more time, just to understand what it says, because it seems that's what you're going to at one level. So, what Prerna just said, and I think, why did we all suddenly burst into spontaneous applause is because of this. If you don't give, you won't grow. If you aren't kind, just remember that. Just try to build the highest common factor amongst yourself, because people remember, machines will remember, pets remember, the environment remembers. I think the environment is paying us back and slapping us in the face every day for all the shit we've done. But it's happening, and there's something that's going on around. I hope that in this quest for, being number one, earning enough, etc., we don't forget those larger things. I mean, Elon Musk has already given up on the Earth, which is why he's building the whole thing for Mars. Everything he's building is towards us setting up a colony in Mars. Everything. And I mean, one or two of my mad scientist friends have told me this. But it's amazing if you read that stuff and whatever. So occasionally, if you read about this, it's extremely humbling when you realize what may happen.
I read this very beautiful tweet, right? Would AI take away jobs from people? There was a response to it. AI will take away jobs from people who don't use AI. There's another hand there. And Arvind, you need to tell me. Yes. Sorry.
Just a thought.
I'm ready to stop whenever.
And your comments on that. It started with my discussion today with Roshan on mediocrity and how acceptable it has become. And then Prerna just now said that if we want to actually bring India as a brand and take it forward, we need to deliver. How relevant is your capability to say no? We as event managers, a lot of time end up taking jobs, committing. We fail. A lot of times we take up jobs, committing or accepting the client's term. We end up not getting payment, vendors do not get paid. Everything leads to some sort of ill will, whether from the client side, whether from the vendor side. How relevant is today as we grow and so many opportunities come to us? And this is a thought to everybody and maybe
Absolutely.
people who are coming up. How relevant is that we get off the table saying we cannot do or we cannot accept these terms?
Very, very relevant.
I'll take that as the last question. It's a very relevant one to...
It's very, very relevant because you can't be ending up doing shit. And I take a lot of pride while my company and a lot of my peers in my business give me lots of constant abuse for this. If I do 15 projects a year, I say no to 25. And I'm sorry I'm having to state it like this here, with no disrespect to any opportunity or money that any project can get to this table. But if we don't feel comfortable, whether it is in terms of our own ability in being able to deliver it, or it is in terms of the approaches of the client, the brand, the family, and our approach and wavelength not matching, or for any other reason, there are many times we say no, and I think it's very, very important that if you want to stick to quality, you have to learn to stand up and say no.
Do you feel that?
Can I just add something?
Yes.
और अगर ले लिया है, please guys, अगर ले लिया है तो please commitment पूरा करके दिखाओ. That is something like I'm requesting to everyone, because here as an industry, that's what is really lacking, because how people and the outside world, Samit and I, when we sit in these meetings with the government, they look at us and say that commitments are not met. So we have to really stand up as an industry and say, या तो नहीं बोलो या ले लिया है तो please look up to the commitment and deliver what you've committed to. That's a very, very big request.
Thank you for that. Parthiv, you want to add your last comments on
Well,
this?
I think different folks are at different phases in their life and their thing. And to just repeat, you have to be inspired by people who are your role models. And within that, then again, look at your own strengths and do whatever it requires to, build your brand and strengths. I know, when you talk of mediocrity, a lot of people probably also don't even realize what they are mediocre at, and that's again part of the learning process. So we're all in different journeys in our lives, and we can be inspired and yet keep introspecting on what works.
I want to add something with
Sure.
your due permission.
I just want to wind up after that, yes.
We've been speaking of mediocrity. Mediocrity का मतलब ये नहीं है कि medium range में सब खराब है. That is not what mediocrity means. So please don't mistake it for that. It's a thought process. It is accepting something which you know is not the best that is being delivered. Accepting that is mediocrity. And that is, it's not that somebody who's doing a 50 lakh rupee wedding is not doing the right thing or is not doing a good job. As long as you're, excelling and making sure that you're delivering it well, it's making you happy, it's making your client happy, it's great. But in the process, if you realize that you're short delivering, you know that you're short delivering and still going ahead with it, I think that is mediocrity. And that is something which we need to stay away from.
Thank you, Saman. Thank you, Roshan, Parthiv, and Prerna. Ladies and gentlemen, through the day, the words that are resonating: opportunity, massive one out there, collaboration, don't work in silos, get together, look at complementary skills and talents that can come together. Have the grit. And there's a beautiful saying, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. Have that, ability in you to, and wo wazan kehte hain, ek tehrav. That's what the industry needs today. We're known for our glamour, we are known for the experiences that we create. I think if we have to walk this journey and be successful at that, we need to also have the depth. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the panel, thank you so much. It was a pleasure hosting you. Thank you.
And thank you, Sultan, for doing this with us. Thank you.
Absolutely.